All right, it's the Houston High School Huddle. That's my guy, Matt Stepp. I'm the Wizard, and we are talking December football. All the milestones. Play after Thanksgiving, play in December. We've hit December, and boy, we got a slew of rematches, don't we? Not just in the Houston area, but all over the place.
Yeah, I think Tepper said there's 20 in UIL 11-man, 20 rematches this week, either district or non-district games. It's crazy that we have this many rematches. It should be fun. A lot of great games on the docket. Of a significant lack of Thursday and Saturday games this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, it is what
it's upsetting to you, isn't it? That's upsetting.
Oh,
you can't stack your games if you can't.
I had to. Well, I'm good. I got 3. I got one Thursday, one Friday, one Saturday. I was hoping for a doubleheader somewhere Saturday, but we couldn't make it happen. So, But
it looked
hey,
good for a little bit. Go ahead.
My Saturday game.
Yeah,
we got some Houston implications in that, so we'll talk about that.
That's what I want to hear, man. Yeah. The old stepping art part of this deal.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I told you off the air. We both live up in DFW, but we make our ranges. We're all over the place. Stepp's obviously an encyclopedia knowledge of Texas high school football, and he knows everything that's going on everywhere. We got the show in Houston, but never hear a lot of feedback on the Houston High School Huddle. I got 3 or 4 Cy Ranch fathers were talking to me on the field, saying they what's the deal, and I appreciate it, man. We must have talked there for a good 15, 20 minutes. They had high hopes for the Mustangs, which gave me high hopes for the Mustangs just because they had so much knowledge behind it. And like me and you kind of talked about after the game, it just seemed like a situation with Cy Ranch that they hadn't been there in a while. They hadn't been in that situation, and maybe it was just a little bit too big for them at the end of that game because they took a Waxahachie collapse, turned it to their half, and then they ended up collapsing down the stretch there by not making those 2 picks right in their hands.
Yeah, I mean it's a classic. When you got your foot on the throat, you gotta kill him. You gotta. Waxahachie's too good to let him off the hook, and Cy Ranch let him off the hook. Bottom line, I mean they had a 10-point lead with 2 minutes left, and they lost it. Waxahachie gets a field goal, and the onside kick gets executed. Onside kicks are they're dangerous, but then you got to get a stop. If you hold them out of the end zone, you win the football game.
Right.
You have 2 chances to pick it off and win the game, and you don't make a play, and then on 4th down, Waxahachie scores, and you kind of knew when I kind of watched watching the game when Hatchie scored. To tie it up, I was like, "This is over. It's over." The momentum is too great now. I just don't see Cy Ranch win the game. So, it's an unfortunate thing for the seniors, but I think Coach Blaylock there at Cy Ranch is going to have to talk to his younger guys, and this is going to have to be a lesson for them that when you've got your foot on a team's throat, especially in the playoffs, you have got to put the dagger in. You've got to put them away because these teams are playing. They're desperate. They're playing for their lives, and I saw it in my game. Friday in San Antonio, Friday afternoon. Cibolo Steel, it's not a Houston area game, but it was a San Antonio game. But Cibolo Steel's got a 28-10 lead with 7:54 left. They're up 18 with 7:54 left and allowed 19 points in the final 8 minutes of the game and lose 29-28. You've got teams are gonna. It's the playoffs. They are gonna it's all or nothing. You gotta in the playoffs. And speaking of putting that's what Richmond Randle did on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely.
They put the dagger in. they kept that. You cannot let up in the playoffs, and that's what it's the playoffs. You got to make no doubt. And that's what Randle did in their win, which I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to 5-8.
Yeah, I told Brenham, go ahead and take these 88, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take this Mike Irvin and be gone.
It was only 83. But
83? Oh, my bad. All right. We'll take this.
And let me say, Randle did not run it up. Like they had backups in, and I Coach Randle asked for a running clock, and I don't think he was granted a running clock. So,
right.
I think Randle tried to do whatever they could to kind of, because it was 66-13 early third quarter. I mean,
let's
just get out of here at this point.
End this thing before the rain kicks in. Did you get rain out there or no?
I have been the rain delay. Hey, if you got a drought, you need some crops watered. Send me.
Send you
last week in
bring it.
Corpus Christi 2 weeks. Last week I was a 2-hour rain delay in my game halftime, so we had 2.5-hour halftime. And then Saturday at Prairie View during the Randle Bastrop game, we had a rain delay at halftime that lasted. So our halftime was about an hour and 15 minutes. And then the Weiss and Barbers Hill game, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, was supposed to kick off at 5, but we had rain and lightning, so it didn't kick off actually till 6:45.
Right.
So apparently, if I show up, it's going to rain. So hey.
If you're talking like that, you must have been at Choctaw too. I guess you weren't.
I was not at Choctaw.
You weren't at Choctaw. You would never have made it. I wonder how you would have handled that situation, considering you have Saturday games in different parts of the world. If you gave yourself Choctaw and the thing didn't end until 1:41 in the morning, you're just going to start hitting the lonely roads.
I would have probably just been like, you know what, no point in going to sleep at this point.
Exactly. All-nighter, college days. Yeah. What do you care? All right, let's go through some of these brackets of what we got left and talk through these things. And let's start off with the 6A Division I regional finals. We're in the final 8 of each region and each division. So the final 8 here, we have in Region 1, Allen, North Crowley, Duncanville, Waxahachie, which is a rematch, North Shore and Dickinson, San Antonio Johnson, and Lake Travis. Let's start with North Shore and Dickinson. And this one, that's a 5-time champion going up against an undefeated Dickinson who has certainly been challenged, maybe not last week, as they rolled through Strake. And I don't think North Shore was challenged either with Cy Falls. But they're going to be challenged this week. They're going to have that game at University of Houston. Your thoughts on this one, because this is our game of the week for sure.
This is going to be an absolute slugfest. I mean, you know, North Shore, you know, I made the mistake of picking against them before the playoffs started. I thought Ridge Point would win the region. Emphatic win over Ridge Point. And you know, I kind of thought last week both of the semifinal games would be pretty lopsided and we would get this matchup, and it kind of turned out that way. Yeah. You know, this is a lot of parallel, not parallels here, but a lot of kind of intertwining narratives here. You've got North Shore, 7 straight regional titles, the team of record in Houston coming off a dominant win. You got Dickinson. Dickinson hasn't won a regional title since 1977 when they won the state championship as a 3A school. They were 3A at the time.
Right.
And they
built it up to 6A, and now they're right back here.
Well, and then the last time Dickinson was in this round was 2015. North Shore beat them. So there's some parallels here, just looking at the history of these things. That doesn't really matter as far as Friday night's game go, but just kind of interesting facts that sports writers we like to look at and come up with. I think this game is going to come down to the defenses, which defense can, because both these offenses are balanced, they're dynamic, they've got great quarterbacks. North Shore's got a lot of young talent. I think Dickinson's skill talent's a little more veteran, a little more senior heavy. You know, this is kind of the group they've been waiting on probably since that 2015 crew came through. So I think, you know, that edge, I don't think there's an edge there. I think both offenses are really, really good. I think this is going to come down to defense. Yeah. Dickinson's defense really impressed me last week. Holding Johnny Abear under 100 yards, which I think is the first time it's been done since he was a sophomore. Really impressive. The North Shore 54-27 win over Cy Falls. I mean, most of that Cy Falls point totals were
second and
garbage time. It was 48-7 early fourth quarter when North Shore had gotten their starters out of the game. So I think this is going to come down to defense. Which defense can get stops? You know, key redstone stop here or there, a turnover. That's going to be the key here. And I think this is going to be an absolute I called it a beautiful street fight. Yeah. If you like fast, physical football teams that will come up and strike you, this is the game for you. Get to U of H on Friday night. This is the game you need to see. I'm not picking against North Shore at this point in Houston. I got to go with North Shore here, but I think I would not be shocked if Dickinson won the football game. I think Dickinson is a fantastic football team. This is a real coin flip type game, but I'll lean to North Shore, just the pedigree, and I'm not picking against them anymore. They proved me wrong.
It's you say a street fight, and it's going to be hard to keep your emotions in check, but that could also be a swing in this game. You start getting these ridiculous penalties because you can't keep yourself and give them an extra 15 yards. That could play a factor in this game as well. So keeping your emotions in check and such a barn burner game, because their emotions are going to be running high at the beginning, probably throughout the whole thing, but definitely when the game is still close, just starting, it's going to be wild. And you got a junior quarterback in there with Dickinson, but he has played like a senior this whole year. And you've already told me, like the last couple of weeks, we're done talking classifications. They're now one up if you say you're a junior or a senior now because you're playing week 14.
Yeah, we're in week 14. Yeah, so no, I agree. I mean, obviously, silly penalties can't happen. You want to be fired up. You want to be emotional, and the referees, at this stage, you're going to get, most of the time you're going to get the best of the best.
Yeah.
There's been some discourse on social media about the officiating, but you're going to get good officials, and I know which officiating crew is working this game, and I know they're one of the best. So they're going to let things. They're not going to punish a kid for being fired up about that kind of thing. You just can't. You can't be taunting. You can't. Do something that's going to hurt your team. So you got to keep that in check. But I think that those fall under the mental errors standpoint category. No mental mistakes. Don't hurt yourself. Those kinds. I think a lot of coaches can live with the effort penalties, right? You get a pass interference, you get a hold. They don't like it, but that's an effort penalty, right? It's the personal fouls. It's the personal fouls, the mental. 12 men in the huddle, lining up offsides, 2 men motion. Illegal formation. Those mental mistakes are really what drive coaches crazy.
I feel like that North Shore loss to Southwood Cliff at the beginning has now become somewhat of a blessing here as we go through it, because if they were undefeated now, they may not be as hungry as they are now. That was a nice little slap in the face, I believe, and so
and they've been playing great. I mean, obviously the Summer Creek game notwithstanding, they've been playing great football.
Yeah, whenever they play a 6A Division I team, they got no problems with. It's the ones that are a little lower than them.
Yeah, it's like North Shore. Yeah, it's like the other. Yeah, they're undefeated in 6A D1.
Who do you see coming out of these other games now that we have them up on the board here? I brought up the emotions because I think that's going to play in the Region 2 game that Duncanville Waxahachie. The Duncanville, this is a nasty rematch game where it was nasty at the end of the game. If that's brought into the beginning of this one and there's 15-yard penalties thrown all over the place because they can't keep it in check, that could sway that one.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think Allen North Crowley is a real toss-up as well. North Crowley's beaten Allen the last 2 years in the playoffs. This is probably Allen's best team since their last state title team. North Crowley, though, played probably, in my opinion, their best game of the season last week against Coppell, beating them 46-21. So I think it's a toss-up game. I'm going to lean to North Crowley in that one.
Coach Gates out there carrying that big wrench or whatever he had on his shoulder at that game. I don't know if you got to see that. He came out there with some huge tool of some sort. I think
Gates has always got a bid or some kind of prop, or he's always got props. Gates always, last year I think he had a brick for the state championship game, and he's always got something. Gates is a
he's the carrot top of football.
Coaches, he's always got something. Yeah.
What do you think? I think Duncanville gets their lick back against Wax, and
I do too.
I'll let you talk on that one, then tell me about Region 4 as well.
Yeah, I think Duncanville. It's hard. It's a really tall order to beat Duncanville once, and you're asking Waxahachie to beat them twice.
Yeah, and I heard a coach from Waxahachie, or maybe not a coach, but somebody associated with him say, Duncanville's a team that you can, if you play your best, you can beat them 2 quarters. You'll never beat them 4 quarters. So the 2 quarters that you beat them, you got to beat them good. You got to beat them you got to get 14 points up on them in those 2 quarters because you won't beat them all 4.
Yeah, it's tough. So I don't see that. And then San Antonio Johnson undefeated. I saw them last week. They've got 2 really, really good wide receivers that are, one's a junior and one's a freshman. It's one of the top freshmen in the country. Great offense, but man, that Lake Travis defense is nasty. They've got 2. A college coach told me Lake Travis, they have 2 cyborgs at the defensive end spots. They're just unbelievable. And Austin has just dominated San Antonio in recent years. So I'm not Austin versus San Antonio. I'll always lean Austin, so I'll take Lake Travis.
I got you. All right, 6A Division II, the regional finals here. We got Guyer against South Lake Carroll. You got Willis against DeSoto, Summer Creek Sea King, and Vandergrift, the defending champs, against Dripping Springs. But let's talk about Willis first. We talked after that game as well. 15 catches, 363 yards, and then a bunch of other positions he played too.
Oh, yeah.
Jermaine Bishop, we're talking about, of course, in their win over Forney. You said he's got a backpack on that's a huge backpack that can fit the whole team in, and he's dragging them to the fourth round.
Listen, with all due respect to the last 2 years, to this Willis team, the last 2 years, Willis was, especially last year, I thought last year was Willis's most complete team. And they gave DeSoto a run. And a couple of plays here and there, they might win that football game. This is a Willis team with a freshman quarterback. This is not a headliner.
Well, he's a sophomore now.
He is.
By your
your
theory, but go ahead.
True. But a young quarterback.
There you go.
And
go with young.
I think Jermaine Bishop has literally dragged this team by the scruff of their neck to the regional final. And all credit to Willis for that. And Bishop, just what an unbelievable performance he put on Saturday night. I think he made he might have made a believer out of my counterpart there, who's also named Matt in DFW. I think he was a little skeptical.
He was
coming into the game, and I think he's been made a believer now. And of course, you can tell me. I'm assuming he has.
No, you're exactly right. He's a believer now.
And so, So that being said, I think DeSoto rolls here. DeSoto drilled College Park last week. That score was probably not as close as the game indicated. I don't think College Park's quarterback was able to play, but it didn't matter because they couldn't tackle Sherrod Baker. And if you can't tackle Sherrod Baker, you ain't beating DeSoto.
And you couldn't cover Feaster either.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is the College Park team that beat Willis by 20.
Exactly. So I think it would be a monumental upset if Willis won this football game. Just gonna, great season for Willis getting all the way to the regional final, but I think I think DeSoto's too much.
The one caveat is that game's being played at Baylor, which is the scene for DeSoto's biggest biggest loss in the playoffs last year with Longview kicking them all around. And I'm sure Claude wanted to play that thing in any kind of dome that's out there. It didn't work out for him. We're playing at McLean. Maybe that's something. But, hey, Trent Miller was doing fake punts from his own goal line and working them out. He's going to have like 9 or 10 of these fake punt plays to do.
Yeah, Willis, I think they're going to need – I expect Willis to empty the bag in this game. We fake punts, onside kicks, trick plays – exotic, crazy blitzes. Yeah, they're going to empty the bag, and
quadruple reverses.
I think it's going to take a lot for them to even be competitive in this football game. Just being honest, and I hope I'm wrong. I'd never like to see blowouts in this round, but I just think DeSoto rolls.
Well, it'll be the first time I get to see Jermaine Bishop live myself, so we'll. I don't want to see.
All right, you're back to Waco this week, huh?
Yeah, no matter. I'm glutton for punishment, right on them highways. I'm glutton. Anyway, Summer Creek and CE King. If North Shore was game of the week 1, this is game of the week 1A. It's a rematch game, and another one where Summer Creek wants that get back, and they're playing like they're gonna. I mean, they had to fight. They were in a fight through Katy, and they got a missed extra point away from that game still being played right now, as a matter of fact. But they got it done, and CE King had 0 problems with Katy George, something that we kind of predicted because George's going through so much injury-wise, and plus CE King was probably a little bit more talented team anyway. Your thoughts on the rematch?
Yeah, playing this at Thorne Stadium Friday night, one of the many Friday night games across the state in the regional finals. When they played in the regular season, it was a tale of two halves. CE King just destroyed Summer Creek in the first half and got up 42-0, and we're thinking this thing is over. And then Summer Creek, storms back and makes a game of it late. They dug themselves too big of a hole, and I guarantee you, Kenny Harrison is reminding his guys of that. And there's no question, CE King is the most explosive team in the bracket, in my opinion. They are so fast. They just get up and down. They got so many weapons. They do a great job of putting their playmakers in positions to be successful. And you've seen it. This has been a dominant playoff run, but they really haven't been pushed or played a team. Shadow Creek is kind of Shadow Creek's a good team, but they're not in King's weight class. Right. This is the first time since the North Shore game that CE King has played somebody that's capable of punching back with authority. This is going to come. Both offenses are elite. And Summer Creek, credit to Katy, they played a great game, and they actually gave Summer Creek some problems, especially early. Noah Spinks in that receiving core figured it out. That kickoff return by Benny Easter was massive as well for Summer Creek in the win. I think kind of the same thing. The similar to North Shore and Dickinson, this is going to come down to which defense can make plays. But neither one of these defenses are lockdown defenses.
Yeah, they're not playmakers usually.
Like Dickinson and North Shore can lock you down. these two defenses are not lockdown defenses, so it's going to come down to which. I think this is going to be an absolute shootout. First one to 50 may win this game. If you like points, get over to Thorne Stadium Friday. Another beautiful stadium. They have the nicest high school video board I've ever seen over there at Thorne. It's a beautiful place. I'm going to go Summer Creek here. I think Summer Creek. It's hard to beat. I'm going to go with the hard to beat a good team twice in the same year. I think it's going to be a barn burner. I could see Summer Creek winning like 52-49 on a late field goal or something.
Yeah, this is going to be the test for sure for Sea King. But if you look ahead, as we have all the teams left in 6A Division II, this is the beginning of the get-back tour for Summer Creek. They can get back against Sea King. They can get back against Vandergrift. By chance if DeSoto gets there, I know they want to freaking take care of that 72-14 massacre that happened 2 years ago. So there's some get-backs in this one. We'll see what happens on that.
Yeah, I don't think they're – I think Summer Creek wins, but if we start in Region 4, I don't think Vandergrift beats Dripping Springs.
No, you think Dripping – yeah, let's go through the other ones.
This is talk about. Yeah, so Vandergrift and Dripping Springs actually played in Week 1.
Okay.
Season opener. Dripping Springs won 41-14. Now, obviously, it was Week 1. That was in August, so lots happened since then. I just don't think Vandergrift, despite having that D1 quarterback, Miles Tedecki, who's committed to Kansas State, I just feel like Dripping Springs is just a more complete football team. They've got some dudes at receiver. Defense has been up and down, but starting to play really well. So I lean to Dripping Springs in that one. If you go back to the top Region 1, I mean, Southlake Carroll's been my number one team all year in 6A, regardless of division. They put a whooping on Prosper Friday night, Saturday morning, convincing 49-31 probably doesn't even do that.
Well, it was a good game through 3 quarters. It was a good game through.
I just never felt like Southlake was in danger. And they kind of, I felt like they were in control of that game the entire time, and they got out 21-0 pretty quick, and it was constant. Prosper would get it to 14, and then they would, Southlake would score and pull away, and so, I felt like 18 points was probably, you just never felt like Southlake was in danger there. So I like Southlake Carroll. We already talked about Willis and DeSoto. I like Carroll by like almost 4 scores here. I think Geyer has done a good job getting to this point. They've got to figure out. I think Geyer in the offseason is going to have some hard discussions about where they go from an offensive identity standpoint. They're kind of working with 2 quarterbacks now, and I think they're both juniors. I think they're going to have to kind of decide which way we're going to go here. So Geyer's defense will keep him in it for a little while, but Carroll's is too strong.
All right, how about 5A Division 1 here? We're going to talk Barbers Hill, who they're holding the flag for Houston area.
They are.
They get a rematch with Port Arthur Memorial, who took care of them pretty easily last time. Another late Saturday game. Boy, I tell you what, Barbers Hill, I'd love to get you on the show. You're making it hard for me. These 5 o'clock starts, I can't do it. So I need you to get one more win. We'll see what we can do the next week. But I have a feeling you're going to tell me they're not going to get that one more win.
No, I like Port Arthur Memorial in this one. This is going to be this is going to be Saturday at 5 o'clock in Beaumont. It is going to be a madhouse there in the Golden Triangle. Port Arthur brings the house. I was talking to the assistant AD at Spring last night because we're recording this on Sunday evening, and I was at Barbers Hill and Weiss Saturday night. She said Port Arthur was on the visitor side, and they had filled up the visitor side and it spilled over onto the home side. They are going to show, and this game is closer. This game is 25 minutes from Port Arthur, so they are going to be. It is going to be, and I expect Barbers Hill to. It's Beaumont's only about 45 minutes from Port Arthur. Barbers Hill, so it'll be. I expect a sellout Saturday night for this. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Barbers Hill, Brady Barrier, the quarterback, really kind of willed them to a win, and their defense came up with, you think about it, they beat Weiss 34-31, but, Weiss blocked 2 punts for touchdowns in that game. So they really did a great job, aside from the 2 block punts, to kind of hold things out. But the defense is going to be Weiss also just couldn't run the football against Barbers Hill, and that was really kind of the difference in the football game. They just could not run the football. I don't think Port Arthur is going to have that kind of issue against Barbers Hill. They're super talented. Port Arthur is just so athletic and so fast, and they play the game at a different speed. I think Barbers Hill this will be closer. There was 34-6 in the first one. I think it'll be much closer, but I like Port Arthur by 10 to 13 points.
Right. Yeah, there's rematch games in this bracket, but sometimes the rematches can kind of work against you because there's nothing that you do that's really going to be super surprising unless you pull out something that you've literally never done before. So if you lose by, the big score that they lost by before, even if you make it closer, it's still looking like a loss for Barbers Hill. But I'm glad they're still holding the flag up here for 5A Division One in the Houston area. Tell me about the other 3 games that we see on the screen here, because the top 2 look like some doozies right there.
Yeah, Aledo and Denton Ryan is a rematch from a district game that Aledo won 15-14. Last year they played twice. Aledo won the regular season meeting. Ryan won the playoff meeting. I don't think it goes that way this year. I think Aledo's just playing too good right now because they made the switch in the second half of the Ryan game and went with Lincoln Tubbs at quarterback full time. He's been great. Ryan's playing really good football right now, but I just think Aledo's a little too explosive now with the change at quarterback. So I like Aledo by a touchdown.
The stat from that one that I heard from Digsy a couple hours ago. Aledo, with all their state championships and as many times they beat them in the regular season, have never beaten Ryan in the playoffs.
No, I think they're 0-3.
0-3. So there's that.
And that's not normal for a program like Aledo, but hey, here's a fun fact. Aledo has that long district winning streak. That's national record.
Yep.
They haven't lost a district game since 2007.
Yes, when the iPhone came out.
You know who beat them in that game?
Was it the Denton Ryan Raiders?
No.
Who was it? Everman?
My Everman Bulldogs.
Yeah, I knew we were going to get
Let's
Everman.
Go.
This is just like Diggs in Plano East. No, just kidding.
Right. I was at that game too. It was at
nice.
beautiful at palatial J.E. Marr Stadium in Everman.
Interesting. That's good. Yeah, this one's going to come down to the trenches. This is whoever holds the trenches down here, I think.
And I like
another grind out game.
I think Aledo's better in the trenches, so give me the Bearcats in that one. I'm really excited for this Lone Star Highland Park game, a rematch of last year's regional final. Here's a stat for you. Highland Park's never lost at the Ford Center.
I didn't know that. And they play there like 2-3 times in the playoffs, it seems like.
They have last year they beat 3 Frisco schools en route to the state championship game. They've already beaten 2 Frisco schools this year. Can they make it 6 in a row over Frisco against Lone Star? I'm going to say no. I like Lone Star. I've been riding with Lone Star since the preseason. Davian Gross had a monster game last week. Trey Wright looked great. That West Mesquite score of 47-20 is probably not indicative of how dominant Lone Star was. It was 40-0 at the half.
Right.
It was a complete and thorough butt kicking by the Lone Star Rangers over a good West Mesquite ball club. If they play like that this week, they're going to beat Highland Park, I think. The key is going to be I don't think Highland Park's going to be able to slow Lone Star down much. It's going to be Lone Star's defense. Can they get Buck Randle and Highland Park offense off the field?
Yeah, Buck Randle's closing in on a record for passing yardage, so that should be interesting.
Yeah. Here, for your
I think they're going to – go ahead.
For Houston fans, there's a fun fact about Buck Randle. Randy Allen, legendary head coach there at Highland Park, has been there 20-plus years. He's only had 2 sophomores start at quarterback for him. Now, Buck Randle's a junior. He started last year as a sophomore and led him to a state championship game. There are 2 sophomores start for him. Buck Randle.
The other one is
Matthew Stafford.
There you go.
So
there you go.
That shows you the kind of pedigree that we're dealing with there at Highland Park and Buck Randle. Bottom defending state champion Smithson Valley. I think they cruise past New Braunfels. They're kind of doing it again. Smithson Valley plays the most efficient but boring brand of football you'll ever see. They are not flashy. They are not exciting, but they are brutally effective. They play great defense. They're sound. They're outstanding in the kicking game. They don't blow you away in offense, but they execute well. I think they handle New Braunfels, kind of similar to what they did in the regular season, and I think that sets up for a really entertaining semifinal game between Port Arthur Memorial and Smithson Valley, which I think could be played in the Houston area.
Yeah, that does look like a good meeting place right there. There's plenty of good stadiums.
Talking to Port Arthur's head coach about planning ahead, and he was like, he goes, if we're going to play a San Antonio team, what are some stadiums you think we should play at? So I gave him a few suggestions. He was like,
"Bet you threw Thorne out there, didn't you?"
No, I didn't throw Thorne out there. I went further west. But I told him, I said, he was like, we got to take care of Barbers Hill, or this was during the game. He's like, but us coaches, we got to think ahead, start thinking a week ahead and planning. So,
yeah, no, that's good. That's good because then you get the knowledge out to me earlier. Because
I threw out Prairie View and I threw out Legacy. So,
okay, nice. All right, let's look at 5A Division II. Another tasty rematch that a while there I was nervous it wasn't going to happen. But Iowa Colony pulled it out last week, and now they're taking on Richmond Randle. And you told us already what happened with Randle. But the first time these guys played, it was awesome. Now, there was turnover laden there in the first half with Landon Williams College having trouble hanging on to the ball there. That gave them a 3-touchdown lead, and it came back, and Randle came back and won that one. How excited are you for this one? Where is this one at? I already forgot. It's
Legacy Stadium,
right?
Friday night.
Yeah.
So speaking of Legacy Stadium, so I'm a little worried about Iowa Colony. Brenham is good, but I didn't think Brenham is one of the weirdest teams. They gave Iowa Colony all they wanted. They beat Liberty Hill, but then they lost to Waco University in a blowout. And Waco University lost to Bastrop, and we saw what Randle did to Bastrop last week. So I don't know what to make of that. I do know what Iowa Colony and Randle play. Maybe their Iowa Colony was peeking ahead to Randle just a little bit. Obviously, Carson White, Jaden Warren, that Iowa Colony offense is explosive. The Sweeney kid on the defensive line is a force, and I love how they use him on offense a little bit. They'll put him out there kind of as an H-back blocking tight end in the run game, and he's a problem. This is a really, really strong Iowa Colony offense. But I'll tell you what, Landon Williams-Callis obviously last week impressed me. Number one, I was wondering, he left the game last week against Fluke, the area round playoff win with an injury. Did not return in the third quarter. So I was like, okay. And the first thing I did when I got set up in the press box was scan the field to look for number one. And he was out there in warm-up. So I said, okay, well, he looks spry and ready to go. And man, he was spry. He had, I don't know what he finished with, but I know in the first half he had 14 carries for 287 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just unreal. But what impressed me also about Randle is they looked really sharp and crisp in the passing game. Tyler Skrabonic looked good. Okay. He spread the ball around. They looked really, that was a concern, I think, coming into this year was how was Randle going to be able to throw the ball? Where they, and then their best receiver got hurt, and before the season even started, DeCorian Rubin has been out all year. I think he had a pretty serious knee injury, and he's not playing this year. So they've had other guys have to step up, and they're stepping up. And then that Randle defense, they're not quite as good as they were last year. They still fly around. Man, Pac-Man Dominguez is a monster there at linebacker. This is a strong Randle team. So I think before the playoffs, I was going with Iowa Colony, but considering what happened last week and then me seeing what Randle brought to the table, I got to kind of flip-flop here. I'm going to give Richmond Randle the nod.
Yeah, we got that chance for a repeat state semifinals all the way around here in 5A Division II. Mm-hmm. We're definitely going to get it with South Oak Cliff. I don't care if they play that thing on the moon, Detroit, Miami. I think South Oak Cliff wins that one big. That's my opinion. I'll let you give yours.
No, I agree. PNG lost their quarterback in the first round of the playoffs. Connor Bailey, who's he was as a sophomore, he led PNG to a state championship over South Oak Cliff. Quarterbacked them all last year. He did great this year. He got hurt in the first round of the playoffs. I don't expect him to be back. And so they've had to put a sophomore in, Jake Ashworth, in at quarterback. And he looked good against Ennis in the second round, but last week really struggled. He looked like a sophomore making his second varsity start. And a tall task to put a sophomore making his third start in the regional final against the monsters that are South Oak Cliff. South Oak Cliff ran for 5. So PNG fans are asking me, hey, do you think South Oak Cliff can throw the ball? Well, I don't know if they need to. They're running for 500 yards a game.
Two guys had 230 yards. You don't see that.
But they can. They can't. The answer was yes, South Oak Cliff can throw it if they need to. We saw what they did in 7-on-7. They did
it against North Shore, too. They threw it all over the place.
The North Shore, Duncanville, and Longview, their passing game looked competent and ready to go. So I don't know if it's as ugly as it was last year, because I do think PNG's defense has improved some. But I still think it's a pretty lopsided sock win. I'd say 4 touchdowns minimum.
And talking about a combination, if you look at the top there, Argyle against Melissa, I don't know if there's a hotter quarterback wide receiver combination than Gasperson and Julian Caldwell there for Argyle. They're just on point. I mean, obviously, DeSoto fans will be saying, what about Booby Feaster and Legend Howe? Okay, but what's going on there with Argyle? And I know at least Caldwell comes back next year. I don't know about Gasperson.
I think Gasperson's a senior. They've been rolling. They put it on Walnut Grove, undefeated Walnut Grove last week. Looked great. They're clicking at all cylinders. But Melissa was actually my pick to win the region before the playoffs, and they've been equally as good. They destroyed Anna last week, 49-7. But there's a big but here. The status of quarterback Brett Holloway from Melissa is up in the air right now. Brett Holloway, who ran for 300 yards last week and also threw 3 touchdown passes in the win, got ejected late in that game last week. So because he was ejected in the second half, it means he has to sit out the first half of this next game. Now, Melissa's appealing it. Those things typically don't go the way of a granting an appeal, but they are trying to appeal it. We'll see what happens. But let's assume right now that Brett Holloway does not play in the first half against Argyle. I don't think Melissa can hold up.
Can't recover from that. No,
yeah.
That's it.
Now, if this is a one-score game at halftime, I like Melissa's chances because they're going to get a boost of energy when Holloway comes into the game. The Melissa game plan here has got to be first half, we got to hang on and try to get this first half over with as quick as we can. Let's run the play clock down to 1. Let's try to grind out some first downs and try to keep this thing a one. If we're down 14-7 at the half, that's great. We're okay. We just can't be down 28-0. We can't have 21-0, 28-0. We need to be in the game in the second half. So I don't know if they can hold up. Before the playoffs, I picked Melissa, but knowing if Brett Holloway doesn't play in the first half, I can't see them beating Argyle.
You read some articles, and they're saying that they've already got the Tyler chapter to okay this.
Yeah, but that's a UIL decision, not a tacit decision at this point. So we'll see. I mean, as of now, he's suspended for the first half. We'll see kind of how it goes throughout the week here.
Yeah. It's definitely huge because you talk about Bishop.
Massive.
You talk about Bishop carrying a team. The reason he's running for 300 yards is because their running game hasn't been much of anything.
No,
and the receivers aren't the greatest, but he is finding them down the field. So
yeah.
Holloway is 85% of that offense.
The good thing, if you're Melissa, is you do have a really, really good defense, and that's what you got to hope is your really good defense can keep you in the game in the first half if Holloway doesn't play.
All right, what about Bernie and Alamo Heights?
Bernie took the regular season meeting. I think it flips this time. I think Alamo Heights gets them. I love their running back, DK Garza. He's one of the state's best-kept secrets. This is a close game in the regular season. I think the result gets flipped here. I like Alamo Heights to get to the semifinals, where they would take on Randle in the semifinals.
Maybe that one will be up at Baylor again. Remember we had that sweet doubleheader? Sweet doubleheader. All right, let's talk about 4A Division I, where our boys from Crawford, I got to see them live.
I told everyone preseason that they're going to be making a deep run, playing past Thanksgiving, and look at us.
We said last year we were going to get some gear too. We still need to get that gear at some point.
Coach Jackson, come on, man. They got some cool colors too.
They do. That was a sweet butt kicking over there at Pine Tree. Mm-hmm. I was talking to some guys at Pine Tree. They thought they were kind of a year early to be at this point, and maybe Crawford kind of proved it to them. And as great as Mosley is, they have other players. They got Brady. They got some great defensive players on the other side.
They're not just Alvin Mosley's the headliner, but they got other great players as well.
The chances against Kilgore, that might be a tall task when East Texas comes to town.
Yeah, because Kilgore – so Crawford and Lindale in round 2 had a great game. Now, I'm not raining on Crawford's parade here, but Lindale had their starting running back and their best receiver had some off-the-field issues earlier in the week and were not available for the game against Crawford. That really hurt Lindale. And even with those two guys out, Crawford needed basically had to win in the closing minutes to pull out the win here. Kilgore beat Lindale by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Kilgore is Lindale, but way more athletic. So they play with that Lindale physicality, but they have the athleticism to keep up with Crawford. Kilgore hasn't allowed a point. Their 3 playoff wins, they beat LCM 61-14. They beat Stafford 42-0. And they beat Bridge City last week 34-0. This Kilgore defense is nasty. They can get to you with rushing 3 or 4. They don't need to run. They don't need to blitz. They can get pressure on your quarterback with 4. They take away your running game. They're just really, really good. I think this is where the road ends for Crawford, but what a second season for them. They're going to go into Class 5A, I think, feeling pretty good about things as they move into 5A next year.
Excellent. What about the bottom half there, Lavernia against Davenport?
Great all San Antonio area matchup. Lavernia is the defending regional champion. Davenport won the region in 2023. They're undefeated this year. This is kind of a grudge match, I think. These two teams have never played, I don't think, but yet they've been kind of eyeing each other across the room the last couple of years, kind of just haven't run into each other. They're finally playing. It's going to be a big crowd for this game. I lean slightly to Davenport, but this is a true coin flip game. I think it's going to be a great football game, but I give the slight edge there to Davenport.
And your thoughts on the top half? I feel like Stephenville is on a mission, and then Salinas got a big injury there with that quarterback position. We'll see where he's at. And they're playing a red-hot Alvarado team that seems to score 60 and up every time they take the field.
Yeah, Stephenville's had this one circled against West Plains. West Plains upset them last year in the playoffs. They kicked an onside kick late and recovered it and went down and scored to win the game. I want to say like 49-45, something crazy. And let me tell you, West Plains is very, very good. They are, but this Stephenville team reminds me of last year's Salina team. Just a complete football team. It's on a mission right now. They've been dominant. West Plains' running back is out, which is a key loss for them. So now it makes them real one-dimensional, and you don't want to be one-dimensional going against Stephenville's defense. So I like Stephenville to win that game Friday night up there in Lubbock. Alvarado has proved me wrong 2 weeks in a row. I thought they'd lose to Sulphur Springs, and that was a close game. They 51-43. But last week undefeated Springtown was among the most shocking results of the weekend. DeMarcus Belton, their running back, they put at receiver, is unreal. They just obliterated Springtown 64-13. They lost to Salina in this round last year. Now, obviously, we have questions about Salina and the status of quarterback Bo Bentley, their OU commit, the star quarterback there at Salina, who went out of the game last week against Decatur with an injury. I bet if he can walk, he's going to play. But here's the thing. Even if he doesn't play, I think Salina, even if he plays, I think they're just going to get behind that big offense. Alvarado's defense is really small and really quick. I think they're just going to try to mash Alvarado, and I think their defense will find a way to get a few stops. So I think Salina kind of pulls away and wins a 56-35 kind of football game.
Yeah, you talk about Belton. He's a senior. You take his helmet off, he looks like an 8th grader. That is the youngest looking senior I ever did see. But let's move on to 4A Division II, where we have Brock and Greenwood, Athens and Carthage up top. We don't have any Houston teams left. Orange Stark against La Vega and Cuero against Stinton. Maybe kind of run through each of these regions real quick, and we'll move on to 3A.
All right. Is this Diggsy's AI here, or is this yours?
It's mine. Where did I make the mistake?
It's Stinton, not Stinton.
Oh,
it's all right,
gosh. I'll fix it while we talk. Go ahead.
You got an extra T. Region 1, battle of unbeatens here, Brock and Greenwood. I think Brock handles Greenwood here. Brock's playing really, really good right now. They got a wide receiver, Colt Frazier, committed to UTEP, who's sensational. Carthage, the showdown with Pleasant Grove last week. They outscored Pleasant Grove 27-3 in the second half to pull away for that win over the Hawks. Now, Athens is legit. They got a great quarterback, a great receiver. They lost to Carthage by a touchdown in district play. Carthage was missing a couple of their key pieces on defense. They got those guys back. I think Carthage pulls away for a win there, setting up a semifinal. Brock and Carthage played in the semifinals last year. I think West Orange Stark and La Vega is going to be a fantastic football game. Houston area fans are obviously very familiar with WAS and what they bring to the table. Overtime win over Sealy last week was impressive. This is they played in the regular season. I think and La Vega won it. Give me West Orange Stark here. They have impressed me. They are playing their best football at the right time. If you've never seen running back Kelby Jefferson play, he's worth the price of the admission. This game is in the Houston area. They're playing Friday night there at Wood Forest Bank Stadium. So if you want to see a big-time 4A game over at Wood Forest Bank, you can. And you don't want to go watch the big schools play at Thorne or at U of H. Get over to Wood Forest Bank. This is going to be a great football game between Orange Stark and La Vega. Give me the Mustangs to upset La Vega here. And then in Region 4, Sinton and Cuero, they played a classic. And these are district rivals. Sinton led by 3 touchdowns late in the game. Cuero came all the way back to take the lead. And then Sinton, they blocked a Sinton field goal as time expired to win it. Sinton's got a running back, Micah Green. It's really, really good. He's big and physical. I think Sinton this time gets it done. I like Sinton to get out and take on West Orange Stark in the semifinals.
Excellent. You see how I quickly fixed that for you, Step?
Real time corrections there.
Real time fixins. All the fixins, just like Thanksgiving. All right, let's talk about 3A Division 1 here, where we got Columbus through.
Man,
I thought they were going to lose to Franklin, and they moved on. And how did you celebrate? You ate at Schobel's.
I went to Schobel's and ate for breakfast. Unbelievable. It was so good. It was so good.
What do you think about that win after? Well, actually, what do you think about your meal first, and then tell me
Oh, it's great.
about the win.
I got the breakfast buffet. Got a little bit of everything, man. It was awesome. Really, really good. So
Don't tell me they got a buffet. I'm gonna have to make it down there.
You need to go down there. They got
Ain't
buttermilk fries.
Ain't nothing a big boy likes more than a buffet.
All you can eat. I got a little bit of everything. It was great. So this Columbus team, I don't know if we've ever seen a contrast between two state championship contenders that are at the same school in 2 years.
Yeah.
This Columbus, do you know how many rushing attempts Columbus had in the second half of last week's game against Franklin?
How many?
I mean, how many passing attempts? You know, passes.
Okay, I was going to say 0.
Sorry.
Baby. Did they throw it all?
They didn't throw a pass in the second half against Franklin. They literally out Franklin.
Unbelievable. Adam Schobel's probably somewhere at TCU for saying, "What's the heck's going on down there?"
I think, he probably is. And his man, the job that Matt Schobel and his staff are doing with this team is unreal. They've leaned into what they do well, which they've got a great offensive line. You know, here's the thing: their best player that was returning has been out all year. Braylon Fisher hasn't played all year.
Oh wow!
He hurt his foot in the preseason, and I think he had surgery or broke a bone. I don't know what exactly, but he's been out all year, and they're doing it anyway. This is unbelievable what Columbus is doing. Their defense.
You say he's coming back for?
I don't think he's. I don't think he'll be. Okay. I don't think he'll be back this year. I don't think he's going to. I'll be surprised if Braylon Fisher plays this year.
Okay.
Another district rematch against Yoakum. Yoakum is super athletic. They are sensational. You know, Xavier Barnett, the Robinson twins, they can absolutely go. This is going to be a great football game. I'm not picking against Columbus at this point with that defense. So I think we're going to get Columbus getting right now. I think Columbus is playing for a state championship. I think they get back to 18 Stadium. They are. Yeah, the job Matt Schobel's done there at Columbus as the head coach has just been too many Schobels running around, but he's done a great job.
Right. For those of us that are watching this, that watch the show, we're going to have highlights of that game, and we're going to have the highlights of Sweet Aunt Edna down there in the San Antonio area taking on Llano.
How much? If you get Edna and Columbus playing in the semifinals, you get an all Houston.
That'll be sweet. Game of the week? I don't know. We'll find out.
Be. First off, Edna, really nice win for them. You know, first year head coach Jamie Dixon. Edna had some injuries earlier in the year, kind of struggled. They've gotten their wheels on. Overtime win last week over Ingram Moore. If you don't know, Ingram, Texas was really, they're right next to Kerrville. So Ingram and Kerrville took the brunt of all that flooding there on July 4th. And those kids, what a season for them. So my backwards hat gets tipped to the Ingram Moore Warriors and Coach Tate Damasco and what they did there this year. But Edna kind of, pulled it out a 17-14 kind of ugly overtime win. They're going to need to play better this week against Llano. Llano is a really explosive offense. Matt Green, the head coach there, does a great job, former Lake Travis assistant. Llano has gotten to this point a few times. They've been to the regional finals. They got to the state semifinals once before losing to Hallettsville. They've been knocking on the door. I like Edna here, and this hurts me to say because Llano is my colleague Ashley Pickles' alma mater. So
I didn't know that.
She's a Llano alum, so she's hoping that Llano can get to the title game. But I think the run ends. I think we're going to get a Columbus Edna semifinal.
Interesting. And quickly about the top half, your winners up there.
Paradise and Peaster is going to be a true rock fight. Two really, really good defenses. First one to 20 wins this game. I'm going to go with Peaster. Paradise won the regular season meeting. I'm going to go with Peaster in that one. And then Pottsboro and Grandview both won shootouts last week. I'm going to go with Pottsboro to knock off Grandview and get to the semifinals.
Yeah, those two games should be fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
3A Division II, up top, we can quickly say that's going to be Wall against Gunner.
Yes.
And then we don't need to speak any more on that. But I want to talk about the rematch between East Bernard and Tidehaven down there in Region 4.
Yeah, Friday night at Freedom Field there in Iowa Colony. So, again, if you're down in Brazoria County and you don't want to get up into the Houston area, you want to stay close to home and see a great game, go watch Tidehaven and East Bernard. Tidehaven, the job head coach David Lucio did last week, slowing the slot T from Blanco down, was incredible. They did a great job. They had planned and kind of thought they would play Blanco and been working it. He's done a great job in the past slowing the slot T down, and they were a virtuoso performance in that win for the Tidehaven Tigers. district rematch against East Bernard. East Bernard needed a miracle to beat Poth in the second round. They got it. And they last week just handled Lexington and their Division I quarterback. But this Todd Haven team is special. I think we're going to get them in the semifinals, and I can't wait for that semifinal game. I think they're going to get Newton.
Okay.
Newton's going to get past Arpin. Man, let me tell you, Newton is impressive.
Yeah.
They got 2 or 3 D1 kids. They are talented. Newton and Todd Haven, if they play in the semifinals, we must see TV. And I'd be shocked if that game wasn't in the Houston area somewhere.
And the winner of that game taking on Wall, possibly in the final, will be another doozy, I would think.
Yeah, I think Wall gets past Gunner this year. I think we're going to get Wall Gunner part 2, and I think Wall gets it.
All right, let's quickly go through 2A Division 1 and 2. Just hit me with winners. I want to make sure everybody sees every team's out here. We won't talk 6-man, but we'll get through these.
Yeah, I like in Region 1, give me the Cisco Big Dam Lobos. They call themselves the Big Dam Lobos because there's a big dam. There's a big dam in Cisco.
Awesome.
They got a big old dam. I like Hamilton in Region 2 to repeat as regional champions. They won the region last year. I think they get a repeat. Joaquin's doing it again, man. They just are 4
losses through the regular season.
Yeah, they weren't 4th place this year. They were 3rd place, but I think St. Augustine gets them this time. Joaquin actually beat St. Augustine in the regular season, so I'll go with St. Augustine to get the lick back. And
Refugio beat our boys from Ganado.
Yeah, Refugio finally got past Ganado. I think they get past the Mason Punchers. So we'll get Refugio, St. Augustine, and then Cisco taking on Hamilton.
Mason Punchers. What's that mascot look like that they have running around? Just a guy.
The full name is the Cow Punchers.
Okay, so
they use a horseshoe, which is a little weird, but
whatever.
Yeah.
All right, 2A Division 2. I'll run through these real quick. We got Kraut Bowl 2 and one of them, and there's Shiner again, finding their way into it.
So Region 1, I'm going to go with the Groover Greyhounds to take out Stratford and repeat as regional champs. The Kraut Bowl. For those of you who don't know, Lindsay and Munster are two communities far north Texas, right on the Oklahoma border, heavily German-influenced communities. They have, if you like Oktoberfest, they have great Oktoberfest. Let me tell you, Munster.
Oh yeah.
So they call it when they play. They're about 8 miles apart from each other. They call it the Kraut Bowl, sauerkraut, obviously. And so it's Kraut Bowl 2 in the playoffs. Lindsay and Munster going with the defending state champs, Munster. Bremont and Mount Enterprise is going to be two 13-0 teams playing. Mount Enterprise running back Kagan Ash is committed to Texas Tech. He's pushing to break Ken Hall's record. He's close. I know that. I don't know how far away he is. I didn't get his stats from this week's game, but he was getting close. He could break it this week against Bremont, but I think Bremont gets him again this time. It'll be a shootout. But Mount Enterprise don't play a lot of defense. They can dang sure score. Right. And then Junction and Shiner, a rematch of last year's regional final. Junction is this is another 13-0 versus 13-0 game. Junction is out. Shiner needs to be on upset watch here. This is going to be a close football game. I lean slightly to Shiner because of their athleticism, but this is a pick'em football game. But I'll go Shiner by 3.
All right, well, there you have it through those games. Let's talk about where you're going to be, Stepp, this week.
Yeah, so I said it. Sadly, lack of Thursday games this week. So it's either I'm going to go to San Antonio Thursday for the game over at Hero Stadium between Mason and Refugio in 2A Division 1. Okay. Then I'm going to stay in San Antonio on Friday for the Friday night game between Lavernia and Davenport, which will be played at Comalander Stadium, which is Northeast ISD's other stadium. And then on Saturday, I'm going to make the trip east on I-10. I'm going to drive past Shobles. I may stop at Shobles again and drive through Houston, all the way through Houston, over to Beaumont for the Saturday night game between Barbers Hill and Port Arthur.
How about that? You're becoming Barbers Hill's biggest fan all of a sudden.
I will see Barbers Hill for the second straight week and against Port Arthur. And I think it's going to be a sold-out stadium there in Beaumont. So
you got to get there early.
If you're in the Houston area, there's no game Saturday in Houston. If you want to see a game, you either got to go to Waco or you got to go to Beaumont. So if you want to go to Beaumont, get your tickets early. I think it's going to sell out. If they have online tickets, get them online because I think it's going to sell out. I promise you.
That's so much for you stopping at Shobles. You ain't got time now. You got to get to that stadium.
No, 5 o'clock kickoff gives me some time.
I don't know. You're going real slow.
I-10 going through Houston. Saturday is better though. Saturday traffic won't be as bad.
I can dig it. All right, next week is state semifinals. Man, we are inching closer to AT&T. I can't wait. We'll see some other great matchups coming next week. So go out to a game like my man Stepp said, and we will talk to you next week.